Everyone, and welcome to part 1 where we're going to be discussing tables in HTML. Tables in HTML consist of several tags working together. And those tags are the general table tag that lets your HTML know that there's going to be a table here. Then there's the t-head tag, which allows you to actually set the first row or the header row of the table. And then inside of that you have th, which are the actual elements that we're going to be placing inside of that header or head row, that very top row. Essentially the name of the columns in the table. And then beyond that you have the table rows, and then you have TD for each of the table elements inside corresponding to each column. Now here I've shown the breakdown with just the opening tags. Every opening tag would later on have a corresponding closing tag. So with that being said, let's go ahead and construct the table to understand all of this and get a real sense of how all these different tags work together. I'm going to jump to the Atom text editor now. Alright, here I am at the Atom text editor, and I also have a browser open to the HTML file I'm working with right now, which is just called tables.html. You can call your HTML file whatever you want. Let me just collapse that side directory so we can see the full HTML file a little better. The first tag we're going to need is the table tag, which is basically going to declare that we have a table. And I'm just going to autocomplete that there. And everything we're working with is going to go inside these table tags. First thing we want to do after that is the table head, which is t-head. And this is where your column names are going to go. So right now if we save this and refresh our web page, we don't see anything because we really don't have any content in the table yet. But as I put a th, which is basically the actual content that goes in the table head, we'll do something like number. Now my table will show something. And here it is, just a number. And let's add a couple more th elements or th tags for something like color. And then let's add another one, th, and we'll do country. Save that, refresh over here. And now I have number, color, country. And note how they're aligned. They're aligned as if they are the titles of the column names that are going to be coming up. So now the question is, how do we actually add rows to the table, and then how do we actually add table cells? Well, outside of this t-head, we say tr, and that's going to stand for a table row. And now what we can do is inside of this table row, put in td for table cells. So let's start off with a number, and that corresponds with the first column, which is the number column. Let's put in the next cell, and this is in the first row, that first TR, and now we need a color. Let's put in something like red. And now let's put in a country, let's just say USA. We'll save this and refresh, and now we can see that we're actually starting to construct the table. Let me zoom in on this so it's a little more clear. Okay, so we can see we're actually constructing a table. A lot of times you want your table to actually have a border. And we'll be discussing styling tables a lot more when we talk about CSS, but a quick way to do it is in this table tag, just do a space and add in border. And Atom text editor is actually going to help you out here. And if you just hit enter here, it'll automatically fill out border for you, and then just pass in a number like 1. And then when you refresh this after passing that number in, you get to see this auto border created. And like I mentioned, there's a lot more styling you can do instead of getting like such an ugly border for your table, but right now this will help us differentiate rows and columns. Okay, let's practice adding in one more row. Again, it's tr for the table row, and then td for the table cell. And let's see what happens if we just add in one table cell value. So if I just put in 100, and I click save and refresh here, note that I'd still get that 100 value. So I can still add in values and basically have blank values for certain columns. Now, it's always suggested that you try to fill out your table completely, but just keep that in mind that your table will still be able to generate. There won't be an error thrown at all if you only have one corresponding value for your row. So let's fill that in. Next one we want is a color. Let's just say blue. Whoops. And let's put in one more, which is going to be a country. And let's just say France. I'm going to save that, and let's refresh. And there we have it. One more row. Okay, and that's really all there is to creating tables in HTML. It's pretty straightforward. Let's just quickly review the steps. Everything we've done goes inside these table tags. We have an opening one and a closing one. And then if you want to have a border here, you can just say border is equal to, and then in quotes here I've put in 1. If we put in larger numbers, such as 5, basically what's going to happen is you will get a thicker border. Now I'm zoomed in here, so the effect is a little more pronounced, but let's make it really large, so we'll say 50, and then refresh. You can see we get a extremely thick border on the outside. So you may be wondering, well, how do I actually edit these borders on the inside? That's something we're going to discuss a lot more in the CSS section of the course. For right now, you can just put in 1, and that should make things clear enough as far as what's a row and what's a column. Okay, then after that, we have the T-head section. And the T-head section is differentiated from the TR section in the sense that it's actually just the column names. So it represents, and it's in bold versus just regular text. So we see number, color, country, you can call these whatever you want. And that basically defines how many columns your table is going to have. Now, if we remove this T-head, let me just cut that out, save this, and refresh, you still get a table just fine. So I don't want to give the impression that every table requires a T-head tag. You can build a table without T-head, so that's totally fine. But you should try to, at least for a viewer's sake, keep in mind, is it readable without the T-head? And here I've put in the T-head back in. And for T-head, those elements are under the TH tag. Then everything else is a TR for T-row, the table row, and then each table cell inside of those rows is just TD. And you have to place them in the order that the columns come in, which is why we choose T-head, so we can always make sure we have a reference that corresponds to the actual order of the elements. All right, that's basically it. Thanks everyone, and I will see you in the next lecture.